Hi, I'm Craig Mackey. I'm the Executive Director of Immigrant and Refugee Services Association, PEI. We used to be known as the PEI Association for Newcomers to Canada, but our new name better reflects who we are and what we do. We still provide the same supports and services for immigrants to Prince Edward Island. While we recently changed our name, we're still delivering the same supports and services. Alternate Careers 2021 is a week-long series of workshops designed to allow employers and those looking for work to connect with each other. For the second year in a row, we'll be presenting all of the workshops online. It's a great format to allow representatives from a number of different sectors to share information and to answer your questions directly. All week long, we'll be hearing from such diverse sectors as trades and construction, bioscience and healthcare, human resources and administration, and from those who work in the public service and many of our community partners. On behalf of our dedicated employment specialists who have been working so hard to bring this together, I hope you have a great week and take the most out of these workshops that you can possibly get. All the best.
Hello, my name is Mary Hunter, Executive Director with the Workforce Development Division of Economic Growth, Tourism and Culture, responsible for Skills PEI. I want to congratulate the organizers of the Alternate Career Week. Congratulations to the participants in this event. The international experience that you bring and the wealth of knowledge and opportunities for our island employers make us proud to be participating in this event. Congratulations to Immigrant Refugees Services Association of PEI. We look forward to hearing the success of the event and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Specialist with IRSA. I am also an employment specialist with IRSA. We've got a great lineup of speakers today. We'll do our best to moderate the questions and keep things flowing nicely.
Yeah, so we're just going to run down the daily agenda here for you really quick, give you an idea of what's to come in the next couple hours. So today we have 5 presenters from the health and bioscience industry on the island here. The first one is from Bayshore Health, and that will be spoken by Ian Kababase. And Ian, if anyone here on the presenter list, if I mispronounce your name, I'm terribly sorry, and you can correct me later. The second presentation is from Murphy Healthcare, and that's with Anne Doucette. The third presentation is the Canadian Mental Health Association with Ruby Lynn Tabanjan. And the PEI Bio Alliance will go fourth with Vivian Beer. And the last presenter is from Island Recruiting, and that is Blake Doyle speaking on behalf of them. Each presentation will be followed by a 5-minute Q&A, and those questions can be just typed into the chat, or you can raise your hand. There's a little function at the bottom of the screen. You can, that's under the Reactions tab. So just click the Reactions tab, click the Raise Your Hand option, and we will address your question. And again, that's the little 5-minute Q&A session following each presentation. And so if we're all ready to go, we'll begin with that first presentation and Bayshore Health. So I'll just give a quick intro and we'll get right to the presentation. So Bayshore Health, they're a Canadian-owned company, and that's one of the country's leading providers of home and community healthcare services with over 100 locations across the country, including 65 home care offices, 13 pharmacies, and over 90 clinics. They serve over 350,000 clients with 13,500 staff members. And we're here joined by Ian Kababase, who has 12 years experience in the healthcare sector, beginning as an OR nurse in the Philippines. He then immigrated in 2014 to Canada, joining Bayshore Health as a client service consultant, and then a talent acquisition specialist, where he focused on getting students and workers to work and stay in the country. And he currently manages 45 immigrants, including 30 who are under the PR status. And if I missed anything, you can correct me there, Ian, but go ahead.
Good morning, guys. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. My name is Ian Tababasay, and I'll be speaking first as both an immigrant and also as an employer. Here with Bayshore Healthcare, generally, our service that we provide in the province of Prince Edward Island is home care services. When we say home care services, we service the people that are in need from both spectrums, not only the elderly population, but all people who need service that wants to stay at home wherever home is. In relation to this presentation for work, Bayshore prides itself with diversity. 70% to 80% of our manpower in Prince Edward Island, I would say, are newcomers and immigrants. What our role is we provide pathway. I'm actually joined by our talent acquisition specialist Usha Nanik. She is part of our team. There she is with the classes. Our role generally is to provide opportunities for newcomers, for locals to explore their opportunities in healthcare. One thing that we've learned about the pandemic is that there are a lot of careers that people might have explored, but one thing we've learned that healthcare is one thing that it's here to stay. And what we pride ourselves more is to retain those people to work in the island and to continue to service and give back to the community. So what we offer for Bayshore, or what we do, is we give people opportunities to work in healthcare, starting with an entry-level position, what we call home support worker. Go into a resident care worker, a licensed practical nurse, and a registered nurse. These are our field staff. We also have administrative staff that we constantly look for, like a client service coordinator and also a care manager. So basically, our entry-level position, which is a home support worker, we pledge to help the community by giving opportunity to whomever wants to work in healthcare, which means the company will be training everyone who wants to work from ground zero. You may or may not have a background in healthcare, but our goal is for you to see the beauty of healthcare. That's why we're willing to train people with no background, or maybe just wanted to know about healthcare. And we create pathway. We create pathway for you to level up your career. You could be a resident care worker. We provide a healthcare pathway and an educational pathway for that as well, to become a licensed practical nurse and a registered nurse. So we have each opportunity to every step of the way as you continue to explore a career path in healthcare, especially in Prince Edward Island. Now, as an immigrant, I know the feeling of going into a province, a country that don't know where to start, don't know what are the opportunities you have. So Bayshore, part of our role is to navigate also new immigrants in the healthcare setting. We will try to offer to you a way where you can see there are a lot of opportunities in healthcare that you can fully expand. So as a fellow immigrant, Bayshore personally has guided me through. I am an international educated nurse, practiced 3 years as an operating room nurse in the lovely country of the Philippines. Haven't been back in the last 8 years, which means, the island itself, I'm based both Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. I spend theoretically a month per province, handling 2 provinces. What we do as a company to immigrants is we're currently supporting a total of 40 immigrants or newcomers. And these immigrants are coming from different countries, and half of them are coming from different provinces. We try to retain them to work and explore their opportunities for both Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. And this year, coming the year of 2022, we are still part of the designated employers for the Atlantic Immigration Pilot. So for all those who are here, that are students that are about to finish their school and willing to be supported, we are participating for the Atlantic Immigration Program, and we are designated employers that help support immigrant students to retain in the island of Prince Edward Island. Now for the nature of work, Bayshore, we service people in their household. We provide care, may it be from light housekeeping, may it be from companionship, having coffee with our family members. Our goal is to retain our vulnerable sector in the place where they find most comfortable in. It could be a house, it could be in a trailer, it could be in their condominiums, it could be in their apartments, wherever a home is where we go. So part of this work involves traveling. And as a company, we provide all those services and we provide all the resources to support our field workers to travel from point A to point B. For other employers, we have partnered with a lot of bigger employers in the island. We have, for the last 2 years, we have also started a program where we do a lot of COVID testings for bigger companies. We administer our COVID swabs for companies that need support, especially to do some of these testings. We also offer Bayshore clinics, providing nurses to each company to start up businesses, what we call as Bayshore Healthcare community reach out, where we help out some companies to support their employees or current employees to be checked. So providing those nurses, and we service from coast to coast, or all the way from Alberton to going to Surrey. We have staff from one point to the island to the other. So basically, in a nutshell, that's Bayshore Healthcare. We provide opportunities to whomever, especially locals, immigrants and students, to maintain and work in the province. And for our local people in Prince Edward Island, we provide services, a holistic service to make our clients' lives worth living and make it more so an enjoyable stay as you continue to live in the island. So in a nutshell, that's our company, and that's what we do, and that's what we offer for whomever is in part of this presentation. And that's it. I am open for any questions. More questions, the better for me.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that presentation. That's really, really impressive. So yeah, any questions, if you want to raise your hand or type in the chat, feel free.
Oh, something just popped up in the chat.
Lisa, do you want to ask your question?
Sure, thanks. And what advice would you give to a newcomer just entering the field, more specifically in PEI?
In PI. So when we say the field, I assume the healthcare field, or in my end, in home care. So
Yes.
the biggest advice for me is know your options and know what are your, you make an educational choice, I mean. So for us in Bayshore, especially if a person is trying to enter the field and trying to get their feet wet, what we do is we present to them opportunities, and we give them all the pros and cons, because we want a worker to pursue something where they know that they're going to succeed. And number one is to know your options, to know your resources, and we're able to provide that.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Lisa.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I just was hoping that you could speak a little bit about, you mentioned the Atlantic Immigration Program. Could you talk a bit about the benefits that has for your company there and immigrants?
Yes. So the Atlantic Immigration Program is a perfect program for Bayshore Home Health. There are 3 streams. We have the Atlantic, we have the graduate stream, we have the intermediate, and we do have the advanced or high skilled. So for us, we pursue the intermediate. Under NOC code 3413. And we pursue the Atlantic graduate stream, knowing that there's a lot of students graduating from Holland College and also graduating from UPEI, either as an RCW or a nursing background. But don't limit yourself. We also support whomever is graduating who wants to pursue their career. The Atlantic Immigration Pilot is a great pilot program. We were able to support right now 40 candidates for both Nova Scotia and PEI that we're able to retain here, and we have 30 out of them. We changed their lives, still working for Bayshore, still focused in healthcare. We're able to bring their family from wherever country they come from to reside in the province of choice, either PEI and Nova Scotia, and continue to progress and continue to give back to the community. So that has been a game changer for us as employers, the Atlantic Immigration Pilot.
Yeah, and just a quick note that it's no longer a pilot program.
Yes, next year it will be permanent. That's correct.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that's great. Really important information for sure.
Any more time?
Yeah. Are there any more questions? No. I think everyone's good to go for now. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Ian. We really appreciate you being here for us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks for stepping in too, Ian.
Yeah, I just want to end it by saying that for those applicants who wants to know more, our office is located at 8 Mount Edward Road. So feel free to stop by there anytime. We do have a whole team ready to welcome people and explore opportunities. Thank you so much for your time, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot again.
Thank you, Ian.
All right. Who's next on our list? Nope, we're going Murphy.
All right, that was great. Hearing the echo here, that's okay. Next up, we have Murphy Healthcare, and Anne Doucette is going to be joining us from Murphy Healthcare HR. I'm just going to give you a quick introduction to the company. Actually, Anne is the HR talent coordinator with Murphy Healthcare. Murphy Healthcare operates pharmacies, medical centers, and retirement living facilities across Atlantic Canada. The firm has been in business for nearly 40 years and has been nationally recognized for health promotion, patient care, innovation, and charitable work. Have we got Anne on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, thanks for joining us.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here today. Yes, as you had mentioned, I am the talent recruiter for Murphy Healthcare. We do operate Murphy Pharmacies, Andrew Senior Care, community care centers as well. We've been in business now for 40 years. We've just celebrated our anniversary on February. Just a bit about Murphy Healthcare, which we just went over, so we can continue. One of our core values at Murphy Pharmacies, Murphy Healthcare, is our exceptional care always. That is our most important, of course. Okay, some of the positions at Andrew Senior Care are listed here. We most commonly are hiring for caregivers, housekeepers, cooks, dietary aides, and LPN supervisors. With the caregivers, you do not have to have any formal training. We offer a formal structured caregiver training with a really great caregiver training lead using training modules and search. Murphy's Pharmacies most commonly are hiring pharmacy assistants, retail cashiers, pharmacy technicians, delivery drivers. As with the caregivers, the pharmacy assistant, we do at Murphy's Pharmacies have the same idea. We offer formalized training for our pharmacy assistants with a training lead and learning modules as well. So anyone looking to get into either like caregiving for the Andrew Senior Care or with the pharmacy, if you want pharmacy assistants, main thing is that you don't have to worry about having a formal training for that. Customer service, good communication skills go a long way in these roles. Next screen. Benefits of working for us. We are also an AIPP employer designation. We do offer competitive wages, group insurance and health and dental for full-time and permanent part-time employees, as well as employee discounts at our pharmacies. Also not mentioned here is we do offer discounts for local businesses as well. One of our businesses is Atlantic Medical Centers, where we offer, most commonly are hiring for medical secretaries, licensed practical nurses, and right now data entry clerks. You do need to have a medical secretary diploma for that role. We do have a nonprofit, Murphy's Pharmacies Community Center. It in that role, usually the main role is the event support or our teen zone for youth drop-in center. At the community center, we have the alley. It's a restaurant. We have our bowling alleys. Most commonly, we're hiring for dishwasher prep cooks, bowling attendants, servers, and bartenders. This is the link to go into we use ADP Workforce Now. You can follow that link, see all of our open positions, and can apply directly through this. One-stop shopping, more or less. Most places you can search for jobs most commonly are job boards, job fairs. I'd suggest researching the companies in your local areas just to see what they're posting at that time. We post our jobs on Indeed, Work PEI, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can follow us on our Murphy Pharmacy website or Andrew Senior Care website as well. All jobs are posted in those locations. This is just where you can see it. This is our Murphy Pharmacy, Murphy Healthcare website. And you can just follow where it says careers and go in there to see whatever jobs are posted. I just wanted to go over a little bit about applying for a job, the application process, a bit about your resume and what to highlight. Okay, next screen. So the process, just a little bit of maybe advice, personalize your application to the company. I do find sometimes I will have resumes come in that will say, where it will say looking for a full-time position, but the company name might not be the company that you're applying for. So it's just a matter of copy and pasting and sending the same resumes. Just ensure that when you are applying, that you're applying and personalizing it to the company that you're applying for. Research the company in the industry just to know a little bit about them before you apply. Make sure if you're applying for a position and it says part-time, that you're aware it's part-time and not full-time. And then just follow the specific application process. Okay. Typical information to include on your resume, just your skills, your work experience, your education. I'd suggest not including your marital status, your religious affiliation, age, pictures, anything like that. Just more or less keep it straight and simple. Highlight your relevant experience. Keep your resume down to 1 page, 2 at the most, and just make it visually appealing. You want to highlight your strengths. If you have little experience and lots of education, just go ahead and maybe highlight your education, or the other way around. Try to be specific with your accomplishments and try and make sure it ties back to the position you're applying for. What your employer will expect. It's very basic. We just expect attendance and punctuality. Just be eager to learn, show initiative, abide by company policies, and adhere to the workplace and safety guidelines. I just included a little bit about the hiring process. So you just basically, first thing you do is apply for a position. It comes to me, go through the applications. We do a pre-screen, just a quick phone interview. It takes about 5 minutes just to go over a little bit about your experience, your expectations, your availability. If everything checks out, you seem like a good candidate for this position, I forward it to the hiring managers at that location. You'd be contacted either by phone or by email to schedule an interview. Once the interview is completed, we would reach out to you for reference checks. Just would ask that when you send in references, they should always be your most recent supervisor. You shouldn't include coworkers or friends. If you don't have work references. You can always use instructors, teachers, people like that for your references. If everything works out, then the next thing we would do is reach out to you for a job offer, go over the details with you, and if you accept, we'll send you the offer letter, and that's everything. That's the way our hiring process works. When you're interviewed, things that we expect, just be on time, be a little bit early. You don't want to be really, really early because there could be a few other candidates ahead of you. 5-10 minutes would be good. Just keep in mind, you might be being evaluated by your interaction with the receptionist, with the people around you. You want to dress professionally during the interview. You want to make eye contact, be direct, be attentive, smile. I know everyone's nervous during interviews. Common questions you'll be asked: what are your biggest strengths? Just be honest. You want to be genuine. You just want to be honest when you're going back to your strengths. You want to tie it back to the job description. What's your biggest weaknesses? Nobody really likes to answer that one, but again, just tie into the honesty. Try to provide some feedback you've received previously and the steps you took to address it. When there's one that says, tell me about a work conflict you experienced and how to resolve it. Usually people, if there's something, it's usually a most recent or something that stands out, just be prepared. I would prepare that question ahead of time because it takes some thought. The interviewer is just looking to see your judgment, decision-making, how you use common sense and distribute teamwork most of the time. Okay, next. We use different types of interviews. There's either one-on-one or a panel where there might be a few different ones. The next screen is the interviewer. Usually after you're interviewed, they usually advise you of the next steps. If they don't, feel free just to ask them what to expect, thank them for the interview. It's always a nice idea to either follow up with an email or a telephone call just to thank them for having you. Yeah, so that's everything I have. Thank you for having me here today and for listening to me. Really hope to hear from some of you in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Anne. Very thorough, detailed presentation.
Thank you.
And you really reinforced a lot of the things that we teach our clients here as employment specialists. So that was really great. I'd say specifically the concept of tailoring your resume before you send it to an employer. Like, that's something people don't always pick up on right away.
And preparing for interviews, yeah, for sure.
Right on. Okay. I think we have a question.
Hope so.
This is from Lisa Chasen from IRSA. She's asking, when you go through your hiring process, what do you look for in a new employee?
It just depends on the position that they're applying for. I do look at their most recent employment, if it's related to the position. The willingness to learn, maybe the location, because we're widespread, we have locations in Summerside and in Charlottetown. That would be something I'd be looking for as well. But mainly it's just your experience, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. So if you're applying for a caregiver, you may not have caregiving experience, but you might have some customer service or that type of thing. So just even that kind of experience will go a long way.
Thank you.
Got a question from Ralph. Ralph, did you want to ask your question?
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So do you offer programs for newcomers, especially those who don't have any background in the healthcare field? Let's say we came from a different industry like lighting, but we want to go to the healthcare field. So do you offer programs for, especially for newcomers here in PEI?
If you want to get into the healthcare field, was that the question?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So if you were looking to get into the healthcare field, we'd be looking for transferable skills such as previous, maybe customer service or that type of thing. With no experience at all, and you were looking to go into healthcare, I would suggest a caregiver position where we do have our training program that, that would be what we would offer as far as coming into the field.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good question. And I was curious, speaking on that, for entry-level jobs, you mentioned the for Murphy pharmacies. So what kind of a position would an entry-level job be in a pharmacy, and what kind of room for advancement and growth would that entail?
So if you were looking to be sorry, can you just repeat one more time?
Sure. Yeah, just specifically for entry-level jobs at the Murphy's pharmacies, what would that look like, and what kind of advancement would be expected in that kind of a job?
So our entry-level positions at the pharmacies would be our retail cashiers. That is obviously in the retail side of it. We also have dispensary cashier positions as well as pharmacy assistants. And then as a room to grow there would be if you're in the cashier role, you might want to, the next step would be to be promoted into the pharmacy assistant. And then there is the retail management positions as well. So there is room to grow without having that formal education. But also we can support if you're going to school and you're, I would say, for instance, working as a dispensary cashier at our pharmacy, and you're going to, or a pharmacy assistant, you may want to look into the pharmacy technicians or pharmacists, then we can, you can promote that way as well.
Okay, yeah, great. Thanks.
I had a question too, Anne, about job fairs. Do you have any upcoming job fairs with Murphy Healthcare?
We don't have them as yet. We usually are invited into job fairs and we take part in them.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. Shamsin, do you have a question? You can ask your question. Shamsin?
Yes, I would like you to share all the links that you shared on the presentation. We couldn't write down all of it. There was a lengthy one too, so it would be really nice to send.
Yeah, for sure. We're recording this presentation, so we'll definitely have that information for you to access. So don't worry about writing everything down.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yep. Okay.
Anything else? Any more questions?
Lisa,
do you want to ask your question? Sorry, last time I read your question.
That's quite all right. So I'm wondering if we have a pharmacist who would like to become a pharmacist here in PEI, do you have a formal process, or do you assist them in going through that process if you were thought they might have been a good candidate in the future?
In order to become a pharmacist, you do have to be licensed in PEI. So as far as being supporting, of course, we can, you could be hired as a pharmacy student or a pharmacy assistant, and then we could support as far as putting you in touch to schools and how to go about getting your licensing and who to reach out to in order to do that. Once you're in that process, you can work as a pharmacy student while you're taking your courses and writing your exams. But you do have to be licensed for Prince Edward Island in order to be a pharmacist.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lisa and Anne. Are there any other questions at this time? Oh, the chat. Is there something going on in the chat?
Nope. I think we're good to go.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Ann.
Thank you.
All right. So, moving right along, we're going to ask our next presenter to come forth. We're going to hear from the Canadian Mental Health Association next. So, I'm really excited to hear about this one. We're going to be speaking with the HR coordinator for CMHA, which is Ruby Lynn Tabigan. And so, just to give a little information on the CMHA, so the Canadian Mental Health Association, it's a very old establishment here in Canada, founded in 1918. The Prince Edward Island Division joined in 1959, and their vision is mental health for all. And it is designed to facilitate access to the resources people require to maintain and improve mental health and community integration, build resilience, and support recovery from mental illness. Their goal in PEI is to be the key partner in strengthening and enhancing Islanders' ability to achieve and maintain positive mental health. Ruby Lynn, who is going to speak soon, is a chartered professional HR in PEI. She obtained her bachelor's and master's in HR management and organizational development from an educational institution in her home country of the Philippines. And she also just graduated in 2020 from the 2-year Diploma of Human Services course at Holland College. So thanks a lot for being here, Ruby Lynn, and go ahead.
Okay, so I'll be presenting about CMHA. There was already a brief background. I have a PowerPoint if it can be shared. Thank you. I'll go now with slide 3. Next slide, please. Okay, so it has been already discussed that CMHA is one of the oldest voluntary charitable institution. It was established 1918, and then PEI was established in 1959. So what do we exactly do? So we provide advocacy programs, resources that help to prevent mental health problems and illness, support recovery and resilience, and enable all Canadians to flourish and thrive. So part of those things that we do is we try to connect the individuals that we are supporting to the communities for them to be able to avail the services that are provided by the government and any support assistance that we can do for them. Next slide, please. So these are the values that we follow at CMHA. We embrace the voice of people with mental health issues. We promote inclusion. We work collaboratively with the community partners and the government agencies. We influence the social determinants of health. For example, what are some of the social determinants of health? Homelessness is a big factor that affects the mental health of people. So we try to address those issues, and we try to create programs how we can address homelessness and to eventually be able to cater to the mental health of the individuals. And then focusing on the mental health needs of all age groups, we use evidence to inform our work, and we are trying to be very transparent and accountable with the services and the programs that we do. Next slide, please. Okay, so who do we serve? So we serve anyone and everyone living in PEI. We have different programs. We even have programs for grade 3 students. We have the I'm Time Body, where we teach children about the mental health. Then there's also the ACT program for the grade 9 students, the Ask, Care, Talk, and Tell about the suicide prevention. And then we also have different programs and support for youth and children about grief after suicide loss. Then aside from that, we have different intervention-based programs which caters from 18 years old and above, and we have different psychosocial rehabilitation program which includes housing, clubhouse programs, pre-vocation, employment, education, and social recreation activities. Next slide, please. Okay, for the hiring practices, we try to advertise our job vacancies as much as possible in different areas. So we have IRSA, we have the ASDA, Holland College UPI for students, new graduates, and alumni. We do advertise and send our job ads to career development services, employment journey, WorkVia, and Career Beacon for active job seekers. We do this so that we'll have a greater range and depth of population, so that we'll have more chances of getting the applicants and more chances of finding the right fit for the position that we're looking for. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what makes us unique in all our job advertisements, what you can see is that we always include this part. An asset to this position is a solid knowledge, positivity, and or lived experience relating to the issues of mental health and addictions. So we appreciate those individuals who's been through the process of recovery or who's been into the homelessness or rehabilitation for addictions. Why? Because these people would understand the struggle and the pain of the individuals that will be supporting, and they will be able to know the pathway or the assistance and the services that they can avail in the community. So it is an edge for the applicants if they have this. So we really appreciate if they declare it, even just for the cover letter. So what we are really looking for, sorry, previous slides again. We're looking for transferable skills. I think Anne has mentioned this before. So what are the transferable skills? They keep on saying this one. These are the things that applies regardless of what position you are. So for example, the good communication skills, interpersonal skills, and listening skills. These are some of the major transferable skills that we're looking for our applicants or candidates, because as you know, we'll be working with a vulnerable population, and the greater core or the core of the functions of their job is really being able to be there with the clients or the individuals that they are supporting, that they'll be able to communicate, create relationship, and be able to have the active listening skills. Next slide, please. So this is the recruitment process. So I have mentioned before, we post our vacancy in different job sites. And then on the next stage, we do sorting and shortlisting of job applications. So we do the resumes and job application letter. We normally ask people to prepare a cover letter because there are things that your resume doesn't show or reflects, but you can express or explain it further on your cover letter to emphasize your accomplishment. So we do the shortlisting. It is something done by me from HR, and then the supervisor or the department manager that will be in charge for the position that will be hiring. And we have selection criteria, which are the essential and must-have qualifications that we're looking for our applicants. So we do interview and testing, we do testing for certain positions, and there are some positions that we just only conduct interviews. And most of our interviews are behavioral interviews. So I would suggest for anyone that you study the method, for example, the STAR, the situation, task, action, and result. That's how we do the behavioral interview in our organization, because it gets more of the experience base or more of the behavior of the individuals that are applying for the positions. Next slide, please. So I have mentioned already that we have certain criteria that we have set, the essentials and the must-haves, and then we do reference check. We prefer standard 3 reference check for every shortlisted applicants, and we prefer really previous supervisors and managers, basically because we'll be asking questions about how is the leadership of this individual during the time that that person is working. So definitely a friend of yours will not be able to answer those aspects of the job. So we really are encouraging applicants, if you'll be giving reference checks or individuals, these are the people who can really assess and evaluate you as an individual in terms of your work performance. Then we do job offer and send successful applicants, and we also do HR orientation and divisional orientation for our applicants, successful applicants, to be familiar with the organization. Next slide, please. So the do's and don'ts. So read the job advertisement and the job description if provided, because it gives you really an idea what the job really is, and if you will be able to do the job, and how will you sell yourself also to the employer. Next is research about the company. It is important that you know the services that the organization is providing, because that will give the employer or the interviewer also an idea that you have done your part as an applicant. Then prepare a cover letter and resume that will highlight your qualifications based on the job that you're applying for. This has been mentioned by Anne before, the previous presenter. Do not send a generic resume or an application letter. Why? Because we wanted you to highlight your skills. If you are sending a generic resume, as you know, a number of times the HR receiving bulk or volume of applications, and as per the study, people are just hiring people are spending 6 seconds to look at the resumes and the cover letter. So you should be able to stand out during those time. And the best way is for you to be able to sell yourself on your resume and on your cover letter. Next, as a newcomer, know that your international experience brings important perspective to your employer or to your work. Do not feel that being a newcomer, immigrant, etc., makes you a second-rate applicant. Me, as an immigrant, I can speak for myself on this part. There are a lot of things that you can bring into the organization, and the organization actually now embraces diversity. What you can bring in, your experience from your home country, what makes it different, something that they can look at into. It's a new perspective for the organization. So be confident as a newcomer or as an immigrant that you'll be sharing something or contributing something to the organization. Next slide, please. Treat every job interview as the employer's opportunity to assess what you can do for the company and the opportunity to determine whether you would really want to work there. Do not be shy to ask questions and clarifications during the process of the interview. We always ask the applicant, like, if you need clarifications, please do not hesitate. If you do not understand the question, please do not hesitate to tell us. Or if you like, for example, that can we just go back on that question? Yes, we try to accommodate the applicant if they wanted to, because sometimes they're having a mental block, they cannot answer at that moment the questions, but if you give them a chance, they can go back, just express or communicate with the interviewer. If you're not understanding the question, they can further explain it to you. Next, learn from the interview what you can do better next time. Do not dwell on the job that you did not get. I've been receiving a lot of individuals, because in our organization, we practice, like, whether you get the job or not, we inform the applicants. And we always put there that if you need to call us to further clarify what happened during the interview, would be happy to discuss. And I really appreciate the fact that there are some even applicants who've been sending email to me like, I appreciate you giving us feedback, but would you be able to tell me which part of the interview can I improve more? So that's a positive attitude that we're getting from the applicants, so that I honestly can even tell them, actually, you're a good candidate. It's just that there's some part of the questions that you failed to answer or to express more of yourself. So that's learning opportunity for the applicants, for them to know that, oh, this is the things that I need to prepare on for my next interview. And this one, provide references that can provide feedback about you as an individual, your work ethics, achievement, and performance. I have already explained this. And another thing that I can add to is, like, when you give them as a reference check, let them know that you have given their name as a reference check. Because this is always a problem. Like, I'm giving a call from CMHA because your name was provided by this applicant. It was like, why was my name provided? I barely know that person. So give a heads up to the reference check or the people that you have provided as your references, that they should expect a call from CMHA or from any other companies that you have applied for, because you have used them as a reference person. Next slide, please. Okay, so I will speak about the organizational growth. So we've been serving thousands of islanders across the province, and we're striving to be the key partner in strengthening and enhancing the people's ability to achieve and maintain positive health. We now have over 100 employees, and we have casual staff and a number of volunteers. So new positions are created, and continuous hiring and training are in place to address the expansion of the organization programs and services. So we have our clubhouses and programs across the island. We have in Alberton, we have in Summerside, then here in Charlottetown area. We have also our assigned education coordinator in the Montague area. So our present job opportunities at CMHA, we're looking for transitional housing support workers, mental health worker, for the Summerside, accountant technicians, and director of finance, admin, and corporate support for the Charlottetown office. And we're also encouraging people to volunteer. It's a good way for you to better understand the organization if you volunteer to them, especially if they have the volunteer opportunity. For new immigrants who are still exploring their options, the things that they wanted to know, or the career path that they wanted to go, if you're not sure, but you think, for example, you wanted to focus on later on as a social work or in the mental health field, working on a volunteer area of that organization would really give you an idea how things are done and what is the role what will be the expected role for you working in that field. So it will be a wake-up call for you to assess yourself if you'll be ready to work in that area. Next, please. So we have a lot of information in our website, which you can look at. And a good thing about it, we have also the CMHA PEI Learning, Training, and Support Hub, this one. We provide a lot of webinars. Most of it are free. So it teaches people a lot of information about mental health, stress, and other areas like CBT, the cognitive behavioral therapy. So if you want to educate yourself, make yourself aware also, for example, if you want to focus on mental health field, it is important that you are well armed or you're well educated and aware of the things you need to know working in the mental health field. Next, please. And I think that's all. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was muted there for a second. Yeah, thanks a lot, Ruby Lynn. That was amazing. Really, really informative. Great advice too. I'm really glad you highlighted the value that newcomers can bring to the mental health field and these kinds of jobs. Really important to remember. Your experiences do have a lot of value, especially in these kind of jobs. So thanks a lot for that. All right, do we have any questions from the crowd?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
That was really great, Ruby Lynn, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you speak to maybe potential for career progression or advancement with the Canadian Mental Health Association? Like if you started out.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Actually, the good thing with our organization is, for example, you apply for one position and then eventually, after spending some time, for example, you work as education coordinator, the one who educates people about the programs, about the suicide preventions, and then eventually you realize you wanted to work in the field or you wanted to work in the helping field for the clients or the individuals. You want to teach life skills. The good thing with our organization is we allow them to explore other positions. We allow them to apply, especially if there's an internal vacancy. We prioritize our internal candidates if they want to move to another job or to another area within the organization, because it's part of the growth, and it's one way of us seeing our employees looking into the bigger picture of CMHA, because sometimes maybe you started as education coordinator and then you realize I can do also working with the individuals, with the clients. I can help them do the community services. I can network them to the community partners or government agencies, those things. So there's really no exact career path, but there are a lot of opportunities and options for you, especially if you're focusing on mental health field or in social work, that you can see and explore within the organization.
Great.
Cool. Yeah, I'm actually curious about, I know you guys at CMHA, you provide a lot of different training programs,
Yes.
like volunteer training programs, like suicide intervention training, for example.
Yes.
Can you speak about those kind of programs that are available to Islanders and the value that can add?
I'm sorry, I think of, sorry, I didn't get that part.
Yeah, just the different training programs that you provide.
Yeah, as I've told, we have different programs for different age groups. So for example, for the grade 3 students, we have the I'm Body program, where we teach the grade 3 students about the mental health. What do they know about the mental health? And then we have also the ACT program for the grade 9 students, for the suicide prevention, for them to be aware. And then we have a number of programs for the grieving after suicide loss. And then our other programs includes Don't Be Stressed with Stress. Those are the other programs that we provide, as well as how do you connect with other people, self-connecting, what is mindfulness. Those things are the programs that we teach individuals. It's just bits and pieces of programs, but somehow those helps in your mental health. For example, the journaling, So we teach people to journal whatever is happening in their day-to-day, the gratitude way of putting it into journal, those things.
And are you the person responsible for the volunteers? Like, do you coordinate volunteers?
We have actually our different education coordinators, but it can go through me also because during job fairs, we're encouraging people to do the volunteer jobs. I can connect with the right people, but you can give my email address to them because we have different areas. Each area we have education coordinator for Prince County. We have education coordinators for Kings County and Queens County. But I can be a contact person to connect it to them, whoever applies for volunteer positions.
Great. And now we have a question from Jen Hernan. Do you want to ask your question, Jen?
Hi everyone, good morning. Thank you, Rubilin, for the very well presented information. I just want to know, especially for the individuals who have no experience at all in this field, and they are able to get a job within the company. Is it necessary to have additional or relevant educational levels to reach some career growth in the company, CHMA?
Yeah, it's just not actually the proven experience and the occasional requirement. We are looking also for the potential of our candidates. So if we have seen, for example, an individual who's been working in a vulnerable sector, vulnerable sectors like LGBTQ, young and old people, and those people who are into homelessness, who have worked as volunteer in Salvation Army and the shelter groups, you can be considered because somehow you get an idea already of the people that we are supporting. It helps actually to have the right education because it gives you really a bigger idea about the things that you can further do to the individual you're supporting. But then again, exposure with different volunteer areas like in Salvation Army, shelter homes will be an edge for us to consider that you have exposure and experience handling people in this vulnerable sector.
And what kind of education? You mentioned education. What specifically are you looking for mental health workers?
Most of the mental health workers are youth care workers, human services graduates, and we're also considering some RCW graduates, and those who are into social sciences, psychology, those things.
Great. Okay. So, any questions? Last call for questions from the crowd.
This is your last chance.
Hold your peace.
Yeah, okay.
All right, great.
Thank you so much.
We'll let you go, Ruby Lynn. Thanks so much.
Have a nice
Thank
day.
you so much.
And we appreciate your
Bye.
time. Take care.
Okay,
Who do we got next?
we're moving forward now. We're going to be talking with PEI Bio Alliance next. We've got Vivian Beer coming in to present. I'm going to give you a little background on the PEI bioscience sector. So the presenter, Vivian Beer, is the manager of HR strategy for the PEI Bio Alliance. The PEI Bioscience Cluster, as it's also known, is the location of choice for companies engaged in the research, development, and commercialization of bioactive-based human, animal, and fish health and nutrition products. Since 2005, the PEI Bioscience Cluster has more than tripled in size. The PEI cluster includes over 60 bioscience companies, several research institutions, and is home to Emergence, Canada's virtual bioscience business incubator. Some examples of jobs in this sector are research scientist, lab technician, quality control and quality assurance, production technician, process engineer, and business administrative roles. And we've got Vivian here on the call. So, hello, Vivian.
Great. How are you doing?
Good. Give you Solid introduction there, I think.
Okay, yes, I think you did an excellent job. If you can bring up my presentation. Get a
Sure, just one moment.
Thanks. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As he gave a very good presentation, introduction to my talk. So you can, the bioscience sector, it's grown to become a key component in the island economy. It's began 15 years ago where there was a focused effort to build this sector, and it's grown quite strongly. So welcome to our presentation. This is an overview of what we're going to cover, and we'll take a quick overview and then focus on bioscience companies, typical career opportunities, where the growth areas are, and also we have a new initiative within the BioAlliance to help with training and preparing people to move into the bioscience sector. The next slide, please. Okay. As he mentioned, we have 60 companies in the bioscience sector covering animal health, fish health, human health, industrial products, and plant health. And just to give you an idea, there is bioscience in different provinces across Canada, and they typically focus on the science related to the local economy. So in PEI, obviously, fish health would be a big area there, and animal health, agriculture, like plant health. So that's why we focus on this particular. We also have human health. There's a lot of companies involved in natural products. So that's sort of how that came to be. We have over 2,000 employees working in the sector. We just published a strategic plan, and we have a goal to grow that to 3,000 by 2025. The Prince Edward Island BioAlliance, which is a cluster, it's a little more than an industry association because it's more of a cluster organization, because it includes all the elements and relationships to help to grow the sector. So we're now 15 years in operation, and we've grown very strongly, and we're now at the companies. This is a cumulative number of the companies working in bioscience at PEI. The total revenue is $350 million. The companies are predominantly located in the Charlottetown area, but we do have operations in Surrey. Those are fish health related, Victoria, and Kensington. And it would have been typical at one time for us to advertise around 100 jobs per year, but that grew in recent years, went up to 225, and now we're definitely advertising the last few years 350 jobs per year. So it's growing quite strongly. Next slide. So here's an idea of where we were from the beginning. So you can see the strong growth, and with each company you have the largest companies, but then you have like a mid-pack of companies that have grown, and some of them have become among the largest, and you have the folks that are kind of starting out. Either they're establishing on PEI with a location somewhere else, or they have a kernel of an idea that they want to develop and move forward, and so you have all of that. And once companies get their products worked out and start moving into manufacturing, that's when you start seeing an acceleration of job opportunities. The next slide. Okay, this gives you an idea. I've been with the BioAlliance for a few years, and this is a pretty typical breakdown of the the types of jobs that you would find in bioscience, which is probably, once they start manufacturing, they probably start to look like a lot of manufacturing companies. So obviously production, engineering being the largest component, lots of demand, lots of growth there. The science and research, scientist researcher, which include lab technician and different roles like that, around 20%. QA, QC, quality assurance, quality control, of course, there's very high. They're working in very highly regulated environments. So that's a very important talent area. And like all businesses, they require their sales, marketing, administration, HR, that as well. So that gives you a little bit of an overview of the types of positions. So some people think it's only science, but there are certainly a growing number of administration jobs. That used to be around 10%, so I'm noticing it's creeping up to 15%. And as companies grow, that will, that'll probably move up to 20. The next slide. Okay, this just gives you a little bit of an idea of the types of just the job titles for this. It's not all of them, but it just gives you a little bit of an idea. So lab technician, analytical chemist, research associate, sometimes they're just similar positions, but they might name them slightly differently. Research technician, cell culture technician, process lab tech, research scientist, analytical chemist. And the education for these roles, it can range. It can range from like a Bachelor of Science, or if you've gone through the Holland College Bioscience Technology program, which is a 2-year program, and it can go up to master's and to PhD. So it's quite a broad range of science there. The next slide. Okay, for quality assurance and quality control positions, these would be typical roles, QC chemist, QA validation associate, QC technician, analytical chemist. So, just so it gives you an idea, some of these would be somewhat comparable. It's just different companies might use a slightly different, especially with QA associate, technician, or coordinator. Those are probably fairly similar roles. Production and engineering positions, as you saw, this is the largest bulk of opportunities, and production technician being the highest among that. Process development technician, process transfer chemist. It depends on when you look at production technician, it depends really on what the company is doing. Some of them are developing natural products. We have one of our larger companies manufactures drugs, fish vaccines, another one. So it's very different. We have cannabis companies as well. So this can be varied in terms of what you would be doing, but they might each call them production technician, but the environment would be very different and very interesting in all kinds of different ways. The next slide. I mentioned because we were growing, the sector was growing so quickly, and we couldn't depend on people being available to fill all the positions. We knew we had to make an investment in our future. So we wanted to create a training pathways for people. So there's a few things that are part of that initiative. And one is to encourage people that are going into university to take a bioscience career pathway. So they would, one, for example, they would go 2 years to PEI in a science program. Then they would go 2 years to Holland College to take the practical bioscience technology program. They would also get a couple of semesters working with a company, so they get that work integrated learning. And so they would come out of that ready to move into one of our companies. So we actually have a project now. We've started it not just with UPEI, but also University of Moncton and Acadia University. Another very successful initiative, we're now, we'll be starting our next cohort of our reskilling program, and that's where we have reached out to your organization, and that's really open to anyone who is interested in pursuing a production technician career, which is really just, you know, it's a way to get in the door, right? And to test it out and to see if this is what you want, and also to help you move into other positions within the company. So we can have people from all kinds of backgrounds that go through this. It's a 12-week reskilling program and includes academic, some on-the-job training, and then kind of interviews with companies, and hopefully you will move into a company position after that. So that's been a very successful program, and as I mentioned, we're about to start our third. So keep your eyes open in the future for another one, because that's where, as I said, the production technician demand is here to stay. So you can keep your eyes on that. Next slide. This is, I've accumulated a list of best practices, and you can find this even on our website, in terms of finding a job with the other folks. So, you know, they're applying directly to their organizations, but in my case, I'm maybe more of a navigator to help you find a job within one of the companies. So the first thing you can do to get networked in is to join our mailing list. So on the front page of our website, there's a place where you can sign up, and I'll get them a notification of that, and I'll put you in our mailing list, and you'll immediately start getting notifications on the jobs, as you're really the first to hear when a job goes up. Let's see. Then I encourage you to also, on our website, there's a list of our companies, to research the companies, visit the website, their websites, and familiarize yourself with what kind of work they're involved in, and see where it might be a match to your interest or your background. Check our news page. That shows you kind of the movers and shakers in terms of the companies and what new developments are going on, and something might catch your attention. So that's good to keep on that. When you join our mailing list, you'll also get the notifications on our news as well. Prepare your resume. There's been the folks that already presented this morning gave excellent advice on how to prepare your resume. And if you've done your homework before, where you've learned about the companies, look what's important, read the job descriptions to see what's important to them, and do your best to match your background to what they're looking for. So you may have to tweak it each time you apply, certainly closely evaluate it to make sure it matches up. Yeah, that's really important to do that. And the other thing that companies say, don't worry if you can't, if you don't have the qualifications for every part of their job, because job descriptions are a best case scenario, and no one ever fits the best case scenario. So just do the best you can, and to match up your background with what they're looking for. Keep in mind your transferable skills. Sometimes we're hard on ourselves when we think maybe we can't match up, but there may be some excellent transferable skills that you offer that they're looking for. And I know there's been a lot of discussion along the way for professional skills and soft skills, and I've heard some of the companies mention, look, if they have those good, strong professional skills, we can train them for the rest of it. So don't worry about if you don't have all the qualifications. You can connect with me. We can set up a time to chat online or in person. And you can consult with me on the companies that you had a particular interest in. I can give you a little bit more background. If we think there's a great match, I can give you the key contact, and then you can pursue sending them your resume and a little cover note. So that's a way. I mean, mostly when you're marketing yourself, you're letting them know you exist, because you really need to help to introduce yourself, and it's very much a sales effort. And apply for jobs. That's the link to our jobs postings page, but also if you join our mailing list, you'll get a notification as well as soon as they go up. And again, just follow the instructions as they say. Make sure your resume is in good shape. And I sometimes am questioned, well, I didn't hear from them. They often do say on the ad that only those who will be interviewed will be contacted. So you kind of have to just go with it, and don't assume that if you applied for one position with a company that will be considered for another position. For every position that is advertised, you apply for that individual position. Next slide. And that's it. Do you have any questions? I answered all your questions.
You have a question, Isabel?
Yes, hi, my name is Isabel. I have a question about CAL's program. How many people are selected when you open for that program?
For the CASTLE program,
Yes.
I don't work with them directly. But if it might be around 20. I'll have to find that out to what the exact amount is, but I think it's around 20.
I can follow up with you on that, Isabel.
Yes.
Isabel is my client.
Okay. I'll ask as soon as we're finished. I'll ask the person across the hallway. I'll get the answer for you.
Excellent. Are there any other questions right now?
Thank you.
Hi, it's Hannah here. This isn't so much a question, but to follow up with Vivian's great presentation, just everybody have a quick look in the chat, and I've posted some links to all of the different employers who have presented so far today. But one thing was that Vivian mentioned the e-newsletter that the PEI Bio Alliance has. And so it's a great way to get up-to-date information about job opportunities as well across the industry, as well as networking events and other things that are taking place. So check those links out.
Excellent.
Thank you, Hannah Jones. We appreciate that.
Great background too, Hannah.
I have a question, Vivian. Well, you had just mentioned you don't work directly with CASTLE. Do you have any hints about when the next program will be starting, or early this winter, maybe?
Actually, they just advertised it back in October, and so they closed they got a good amount of registrations. So I think that is now finished, and that cohort will begin learning in January. So that will take, so I'll check with them, but they'll probably be looking at something next spring again.
Excellent. Later on in the presentation, for those who do stick around, we are going to be hearing from someone who has recently finished the CASTLE program and is now employed in the bioscience sector. So you'll have to stick around for the end to see that.
Okay, great.
Teaser.
Thank you so much, Vivian. If anyone has any more questions, this is your chance.
Well, yeah, and connect with me on LinkedIn as well, or send me an email and we can begin our conversation.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Vivian, and have a nice day.
One last question there, if you want to.
Oh, Castle training in person or online.
Oh yeah, Castle training is in person.
Great.
Cool. All right. So we're just gonna keep driving forward here. We have one final presentation. This one is from Island Recruiting. We're lucky to have President of Island Recruiting, Blake Doyle, here to present. And just to give a quick intro, as always. So Island Recruiting, they have 30 years of experience as a recruitment agency to companies across North America and around the world. They are an accredited immigration consultancy firm and a member of the Immigration Consultants of Canada Regulatory Council. They're also certified HR professionals, and as such, they are accredited by the Canadian government to assist and facilitate foreign skilled worker recruitment and integration. And as I said, we have the president there, Blake Doyle, and he's, for the last 30 years, has worked in several businesses across the tourism, retail, services, and recruitment sectors. So thanks for being here, Blake, and go ahead.
Thanks very much. I don't know where you got that bio from, but I couldn't have presented a better one, so that's awesome. Thank you. Audio okay? Everything's good? You can hear me okay? Yeah, okay. So just a quick context, a little bit of background about who we are and what we do, and then more specifically, how can we support people that are online. So it's great to see Rubelin and Vivian, and there's a number of other people on this call that are colleagues and people that I've worked with. So nice to see everybody. And thanks for allowing us to be part of this. We've done it a few years, first time I've done it. So by context, we've been doing HR and immigration recruitment services here in Prince Edward Island for about 20 years, and longer than that, as was mentioned. We are certified and authorized by the provincial government to support them with their immigration needs. We've got 3 certified immigration consultants in our firm, and we've got agents in about 68 countries and about 1,400 different agents. So when an employer comes to us, we can reach deeply into the global network to find the best candidates. Today, we're talking about healthcare, and we do have a number of healthcare professional firms that we work with. So on PEI, we probably have worked with about 85% of the private nursing home beds. We also have agreements with the provincial government, both for nursing as well as physician recruitment, and we can talk specifically about some of those. We do have a CPHR and as well as a master's in HR on our staff. We do a lot of HR consulting in addition to traditional recruitment. So from the purpose of the people that are on the call, either from professional firms looking for support to find people or individuals wanting to connect to the market, that's something we want to do. In fact, we have a promotion right now where we're offering $1,500. So if anyone has a candidate that they want to refer, and this is specifically for nursing, there's such a shortage of demand, shortage of labor for the nursing sector, and I can give you those statistics, that we're offering an incentive of $1,500 for a qualified referral once they start work. We've worked with, as I mentioned, about 85% of the nursing home beds. During the pandemic, we probably recruited about 20 plus nurses. The process for immigration, as many people know who are on the call, has been really challenged through COVID. So what might take 6 months traditionally prior to COVID has taken up to 22 months. And the duration of processing, the closure of embassies, the inability to get documentation has been a real challenge. But for people who are here in this market, and if there's anybody on this conference that wish to engage more effectively in the healthcare sector, specifically within nursing, there's 4 different sort of criteria or levels of nursing care that are required all the time at PEI, and reach out to us if we can support you in trying to connect to those opportunities. So at the entry level, there's something called a nurse aide, and that's kind of a new role. It's unique to PEI, and something that private nursing homes need as a support nursing staff. Above that, then there'd be a resident care worker, which is a certificate program from a community college, such as Holland College, licensed practical nurse, and then a registered nurse. Each of those are in different demands depending on the sector. Within the public sector, registered nursing is experiencing significant demand. Within the private sector, it's probably the other categories where the greatest demand would be. What else can I tell you about? As far as if you know somebody who's outside the country or physically here that needs to get their credential recognized, which is often the case with people who come from outside of Canada, there's certain regions of the world, and that'd be the UK, US, Australia, where the path to credential recognition is a little bit more predictable. Outside of those regions, you have to get your credential assessed by a national body, and then you have to write an actual test called the NCLEX, which will qualify your credentials that you have, make sure it's accredited in the Canadian system, and at that point you can, perform to the scope of your capabilities. And there's a pay increment depending on where people enter the spectrum. So at the lower end, the pay is a little bit lower. At the higher end, the remuneration is much greater. So that's a quick kind of overview of what we do. We've been doing this in the province for quite some time. I think in the context of this conference, we're really looking at how we can support employers in PEI, whether public or private sector, and engage local people to kind of connect to the market. So whether there's somebody on the line, if you want to reach out or you have questions, I'm happy to support you with those. If you know family members that would like to come and work in this environment, we can aid through our recruitment and the immigration service. We can support the immigration pathways that are most appropriate for the individual to bring both themselves and their credentials, but also their family members to come and connect to the island. We would have presently, in addition to the ones we've done through COVID, there's probably 40 active cases that we're trying to support local employers to augment the nursing, environment today. And I can give you some stats. There's quite a shortage as there is in every sector, and you'll hear that from all speakers, I'm sure, through this conference. But in nursing, there's a very identifiable series of challenges, from burnout and fatigue, to mental health, to just a chronic shortage of labor and a lack of supply in a highly demanding sector. So that's quick background. Is there any kind of questions from people in the audience, or?
Yeah, Blake, I just was curious, you mentioned the accreditation process. Can you give us a bit of like a timeline for a newcomer who might have a nursing degree from another country, and how long that takes to get them into the field here?
So there's two steps to that process. The first is it's a US body, it's called NAAS. It's a national assessment service where you actually supply your background, your education. They'll determine what courses you might need to take to bring your credential up to Canadian standards or PEI standards. And then you'll have to write a test. So the process to get your credential actually recognized and assessed, it's about a year process. So it is long, but many clients will come in, maybe they're certified as a registered nurse in another country. They've got to go through this credential recognition process. And then the final step is actually to write a test, where you'll, in addition to writing the test, you might need clinical hours. Those have to be secured either through your employer, whether that's public or private sector. And at the completion of that, your credential will be acknowledged, and you'll be able to practice to the full scope of your potential. So the process just for the assessment is a year, and it depends on what deficiency you might have from your country of origin to your current country or location in Prince Edward Island, Canada. So a year plus.
Okay, yeah, great information, thanks.
There is a pretty insatiable demand. So again, if you know people, see Hannah's ready to jump in, but if you do know people that you think would be interested even outside of our local domain, it's easier domestically. If there's somebody within Canada, the path to employment is a little bit faster. But even outside Canada, now that the COVID situation and the embassies are open and countries are having a little bit more mobility, that has certainly become a lot more easy to navigate. Yeah.
All right, excellent, thanks. I think we have a question here from Hannah Jones. Go ahead.
Hi, Blake. Great to connect with you this way. I just was curious to know, like, how, I guess, two-part question. How closely do you work with either the College of Registered Nurses on PEI, or even with the province and the bridging programs that they have for RNs?
The bridging program is a good question. Up until this current cohort, there's always been a real shortage of bridging seats in the province. So prior to Holland College initiating or participating in this bridging program, very often nurses that we would recruit in would have to go outside of the province to receive their credential and do the bridging. In most cases, not all, but in many cases, they wouldn't return. So I think within the last, just prior to COVID, the province really put on this bridging program. It's administered, I believe, by Holland College. I think the first cohort was about a dozen people. It was well oversubscribed. I think that now, because of COVID, there might be some open seats available. So to answer your question, we're not really part of that facility, but we can certainly support people to get them into those available seats. And then today, if there's anybody that does want a seat, we'd be happy to work with them to ensure that they can get their process bridged. The first part of your question, Hannah, can you just repeat that for me?
Oh, just curious about kind of the relationship or that you have with the College of Registered Nurses on PEI.
So, I mean, in fact, the RN Association used to be a tentative line, but since the college has established We've done work with both the College of Physicians and Surgeons, not as much with the local nursing college. In fact, we've got some other pathways that can support our clients to get registered and get engaged in the local market. So by all means, certainly happy to work with the local credential recognition and bodies, but we're external to that. And we would just refer our clients into those organizations.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. I have a question as well. Blake, sometimes we'll come across clients who they might have been registered nurses in their own country, and they've actually been in Canada for a couple of years, and they're underemployed. They're underemployed in PEI, like they're working as nurses' aides, home care workers, that kind of thing. But they do have training from their home country. Do you offer any kind of assistance with that in recruiting if someone wanted to upgrade and get their credentials recognized? And
for sure, and I think in most cases, pretty much every employer is also very supportive to see people upgrade their credential. I mean, there is, it's not to be understated, there is a chronic shortage of available labor capital, and employers want to support this. So we would certainly aid people to direct them to the most efficient path to get their credential recognized. In most cases now, there's available capacity in the province. Previously, that wasn't the case. If you're outside of PEI and you're thinking of migrating here, we'd start some of these processes like the assessment service before actually coming to Canada. And that helps alleviate that 1 year sort of assessment period. So that when you get to the employer, you're in a faster path to actually perform what you want to be doing, what the employer wants you to be doing, the full scope of your practice, and getting enumerated or remunerated appropriately for that. So yes, it's employers will ask us to find candidates at different gradients within that spectrum of nurse's aide to registered nurse. And for those that do want to go through the path of credential upgrading, which is not everybody, but many people do, then we certainly help direct them to get through that process and provide better service to their employer and better engagement for themselves here on the island.
Awesome, thanks.
Hannah, your hand is still up. Do you have another question? Okay.
All right, I think that about wraps things up for Blake Doyle.
Yeah, no more questions? All right, awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Blake. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Okay, so we're just going to wrap up a few things before we close out our meeting here. Beginning with a success story, I believe.
Indeed, we are going to watch a success story. We're going to watch a video now. Our featured client success story is George Naclay. George, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. George was a pharmacist in Syria. With his transferable skills, he easily transitioned into the bioscience industry. George recently attended the CASTLE program through the PEI Bio Alliance and gained introductory skills necessary to work in bioscience. After completing the program and work placement, George was offered a position, a production technician position at BioVectra. So
I came to PEI on March 2019. I came from Syria. I am a Syrian refugee here in Canada. I came with my family. I have 2 kids and my wife. In Syria, I was a pharmacist. I have graduated since 2007. I have lots of experience in pharmaceutical marketing and work in pharmacist there. So I have a bachelor degree in pharmacy and chemical pharmacy. Now I'm working in BioVectra as production technician. the job in BioVectra, it's very interesting. I learn lots of new things, and all my colleagues, they are friendly, and everything is good. Actually, when I came to Canada, I applied to lots of companies, but no one found me to get an interview, to have an interview with them. But Lisa and Jordana told us about Castle program. It's a program for like bioscience program. We did it at Holland College, we did it in Holland College. It was for 3 months. I did my OGT training in BioVectra. After that, they give me this job. So because of Lisa's help and Jordana's help, we registered in the Castle program, and after that we start our job. For the new people who will come to PEI, I will give them a message: don't worry, PEI is very nice, and in the future you will find a job for sure. But for the newcomers with a scientist background, like doctor, pharmacist, dentist, or nurses, you should prepare to your exam before you come to Canada, because the exam, it will be hard and you should study a lot. And I don't think there is a time to study here in PEI, because it's a new country for you. So if you are ready to do your exam, it will be better for you. Actually, when I came, I had a plan to qualify my certificate, but to qualify my certificate, I should spend lots of time, and also I should spend lots of money. I graduated 2007, and I forgot lots of the basic information, and the exams will be in the basic information for us. So at that time, I decided to change my mind and to start to find a job in my domain, not as pharmacist, but in my domain, and pharmaceutical company or anything like that. So at that time, I started looking for a job in this domain, and I find it finally, yeah. During my study at the university, we studied how to make the drugs, the chemical process, everything. We learned everything. I had no experience in pharmaceutical company industry actually, but I had the information in my mind, and I know all chemical process and what should we do. And here we follow the guidelines, how to make product, how to make a new product or anything of that. And this is a basic information for us. Just apply and don't give up. Don't give up, because you will find for sure.
It's a great story. We really appreciate that video from George.
It was inspiring, yeah.
What an inspiring story.
Success of the Castle program in action.
And he gave great advice, I think, for newcomers. And it might be an inspiration for someone who's on this call right now, looking for a job.
Yeah, especially people in the sciences, you know that there's always somewhere you can apply your skills and your knowledge, even if it's not exactly where you expect it. So keep that in mind for sure. All right, well, I guess that pretty much covers it. We'll let everyone go. I just want to first tell people about the mixer on Friday before you all log off. On Friday, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, we have a mixer at the Carriage House, which is
Beaconsfield House. It's a
the Carriage House. It's attached to the Beaconsfield. It's the big yellow house right at the beginning of the Victoria Park, and I believe the address is 2 Kent Street.
It is.
All right, I nailed it. Okay, so we'll see you all there on Friday. Great chance for networking, meeting employers and each other. So if you can make it, definitely do. And tomorrow we're doing the HR and administration sector. So if you're interested in that, make sure you log in 9:45 tomorrow morning. Thanks a lot, everyone, for coming.
Thanks for coming, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.